Everybody sing. Oh, let me love you.
Hey, Rosebuds. Welcome. How y'all doing? I hope you guys have had a wonderful weekend. My weekend has been hectic, but I feel accomplished, so I'm excited. Thank you guys for joining. Do me a favor, hey my love, and tap that carrot key and share this with all of your peeps. Tell them to join us. It's time for Sunday Snitchin. Are you ready? Because I'm ready. Can we vibe out real quick? Do y'all hear this? I love when my friends are living their dreams. And this is one of my college friends. And he is amazing. Absolutely amazing. So yeah. This is Jamal Lamont if you don't know him. But yeah, so welcome. Hey Top Show. How are you? So as you know, I'm always working multiple streams here, so just bear with me. Alright, so tonight, ladies and gents, we are talking about monogamy. Oh, monogamy. Because you know, everybody always wants their one and only. So we're going to talk about that. And I'm excited because I get to bring my good girlfriend on. My good girlfriend. That's my baby. Miss J. Dyson, the brand. So Jasmine O will be in the building with us shortly. So, how y'all doing? What's going on? Can we talk about the fact that it is November? We are pushing through 2020. And it is also National Sexual Health Month. And I'm excited about that. So, over here in the Sin Sexin world, we will be talking all things about sexual health, and it's important because it's definitely what you need on your journey. So be sure to tune in. I'm super excited. Again, if you are just joining us, go ahead and tap that carrot key. Share with your friends. Let them know about Mystique. Let them know about what I'm trying to do. I appreciate you guys. As you can see, I'm rocking my Sin Sexin apparel. Shout out to Art by Unique for the design, and we also have our pins. So this pin is kind of small, you can't see it, but it says Concoction, which is the hoodie that some of our models have been wearing if you've been following us. So we dope, we coming out, we live. Hey love, how's it going? Hey, welcome everybody. We'll be starting shortly. What's going on? What y'all know about monogamy? Tell me. How many of y'all have been in monogamous relationships? How many of you are currently in monogamous relationships? Hey, what's going on?
I like them nasty.
Okay. So, yes. Who believes that monogamy is a crock of, you know what? Or who thinks that monogamy is a blissful thing? I do. I personally think that it is. I love it. I think that all of it is beautiful, whether you are polyamorous or you are definitely a monogamous spirit. As long as you love yourself and you love others, then we good. I don't know where our special guest is, but that's all right. So let's get started. So it's Sunday Snitchin. So you know I'm always on here talking my good shit. I got my glass of wine. I'm ready. As y'all can see, I'm like changing backgrounds often. So, monogamy. Let's talk about it. What is it, right? I mean, essentially we hear so much stuff about it, right? It's always like, oh, it's your one and only. You can't be with nobody else. Don't even look the other way. Don't even look when somebody's, walking past you. So yeah, I think my definition of monogamy is finding someone who is like the yin to my yang, so to speak, and they are able and willing to understand me fully in all the things that I encompass and all the things that I bring to the table, as well as me being able to bring those things to the table for them. So that's my brief. What do you guys think? And while you guys are typing in what you think about monogamy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and invite our special guest on, Miss J. Dyson. Jasmine, can you request in? Because it's not coming up. I'm excited to have her on. Instagram playing with us today, but it's not letting me request. Let's see. Hey Mo, how's it going? So the question is, what do you guys think monogamy means? In your own words, what do you think? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to people around you? What's going on? Hey Bo.
Hey, what
How
in the
are
world?
you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Yes, hair giving me life.
I'm trying to figure out why I'm flashing. Can you see the flash?
I can. It's like green.
Yeah,
I
like what is
I
going
don't
on?
know. It's kind of cute though, but I don't know what's happening.
It's like Halloween.
Okay, well, hey, it's Halloween. We still celebrating for those who
It's
celebrate. All right. So,
weird.
Miss,
Hold on, let me
it is weird.
request me again. I'm gonna switch phones.
All right. Give us a second, guys. We're having some technical difficulties. But yeah, so what is monogamy? What is monogamy? And if you're joining us, go ahead, drop the live to all of your friends and tell them to join us because we about to turn up. We are about to turn up. Hey, and if you guys caught, can we wait? Pause. Can I just take a side note? So, did you guys see my last? There you go. Hey, boo. We got action. All right, we got action. I can't hear you. Can you turn your volume up? Can y'all hear Jasmine? If y'all can hear it, then that's all that matters. But
Can you hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you now.
Whew, okay.
All right. So, hey, Miss Jasmine.
Hello. How are you?
Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell them who you are.
All right, so I'll do my little spiel. So my name is Jasmine O. Dyson. I am the CEO of the Be Experience, which is a branding and experiential marketing firm. I also own a women's empowerment group called Boss Up Girl Co. I do branding and experiential marketing by trade, and I do fashion and a whole bunch of other stuff by passion.
Yes. This woman, if y'all don't know, this is the working woman right here. I can't keep up, but I love you. Tell them how you know Mystique and how long have you known me for?
So I had the illustrious pleasure of creating the name Mystique. Kaisha and I met in college. We were both part of a modeling team in school, and we gave her the name Mystique as her official alter ego name for our modeling team. So that's where the name Mystique was birthed, which was about, I might tell my age. How long ago was that? About 7 years ago, maybe? Am I off? 7? Yeah, about 7 years.
Yeah, about 7 years ago.
Yeah, about 7 years ago.
We tell it, don't tell. Shh. They don't gotta
Look,
know
I am
when we
proud.
was in college. Listen,
I'm proud.
we getting up there. We getting up there. So yes, so shout out to Miss Jasmine O. Dyson. Yeah, she definitely gave me my name. Can you tell them why you gave it to me? Because people always ask me that, and I'm like,
I don't know. So when we created the alter ego names, it was kind of it was supposed to encompass like everyone's personality. But of course, when you're modeling or anything you do in fashion, or if you're an actress or an artist of any sort, you kind of take on this new kind of persona, right? So
right.
everybody's name is kind of in line with their everyday personality, and then the persona that they that they kind of exude when they model. So it was something like very mysterious about her, and the kind of the way that she moved when she walked and different stuff like that. And so we thought like Mystique would be cool. And then we wanted to, of course, spell it differently because branding is like my thing. So that's why we didn't spell it like the word Mystique. We kind of wanted her to kind of be able to take that and run with it. So as she did, right? So all is well.
It's lit. All right. So you know what our topic is, the one and only. So tell me about your experience with monogamy or lack thereof. Maybe you was out here perusing the streets. I don't know. But go ahead, tell me. I mean, I know, but like
all my tea, but no, I'm joking. So actually, what kind of sparked, so for those of you that didn't know, Kaisha is my best friend, right? So we have like these crazy conversations about almost anything all the time. So I think I sent her like this video clip that I saw with this married couple who was talking about monogamy and marriage and its relation to sex. So anybody who knows me knows I'm an avid researcher. So I wanted to go and look up the definition of monogamy to see kind of where, if our perspective of it and what it actually means is the same thing. I'm really big on definitions. So there were 3 definitions. So the first definition of monogamy was in relation to marriage. So that's committing to marry one person at a time. The second definition was about sex, committing to have sex with one person at a time. And then the third was about just commitment in a relationship, which was committing to one person in a relationship at a time. So it made me think about, okay, this principle of what monogamy is. So I know for me, in the relationships that I've had, I think monogamy is one of those things that we automatically correlate to like exclusive dating, right? We're dating, we're hanging out, we decide, all right, you my man, I'm your girl, and we just automatically assume monogamy. I don't think we ever like really sit down to define exactly what it is that monogamy means to me or to you or to anyone. We just kind of assume.
We do that.
Exactly.
Because why would we do that?
Yeah, we just assume like, oh, I'm dating you, you dating me, we exclusive, this is monogamy, right? So I remember when I was like this was probably like high school. So my high school boyfriend and I dated on and off for about way too damn long. But I remember when we were in high school and we were dating, like we had this conversation about cheating. Like, what is your definition of cheating? What is my definition of cheating? And so my definition of cheating, which would, I guess, correlate to monogamy, was always like, don't do nothing to me that you wouldn't want done to you. Well, that's kind of vague because, I mean, our definitions of what we would and wouldn't do to each other is probably 2 different things. But in my mind, that made the most sense, right? It's like, okay, if you don't want me to do it, then you shouldn't do it to me either. But it's like, is that really going to cover the whole gamut of what I would really truly believe is monogamous or cheating or not? Like, I don't think so. But that has always, like, I think in the back of my mind, I've always thought of it like that. Like, don't do nothing to me that you wouldn't want me to do to you. But I don't think I've ever really crafted a definition of what monogamy really looks like. And I guess it's most important when you talk about long-term dating or relationships and marriage, because that's when it really matters. Like it's cool when it's just like we just hanging out, we just chilling, or you just my boyfriend. Like I could just get rid of your ass, right? But when you marry, that's a whole different conversation to be had. And so I thought it was a great topic to discuss because I don't think like many of us, even when we're dating, like how many of us like really sit down and have a conversation and be like, okay, we've gone on 10 dates now. So I think it's time for us to discuss what this looks like as far as commitment in a relationship is concerned. Let's all outline our contracts for dating or our contract for this relationship, the do's and don'ts. Like who really has that conversation? Most people don't. So that's why I think, I think to be honest, most people don't even know. Like, I can't even say that I'm completely clear outside of like what the definition of monogamy is, which I always say everything in theory and in practice is normally two different things. So I think I have an idea in my head of what it looks like, but I think that's different if you're actually in a committed long-term relationship and having to see what that looks like. I mean, I think that will probably be where it gets a little weird.
Facts. Thank you for sharing that. I think everything that you said is right on the nose. But as you know, we always talk. Oh, look at us matching with our colors. What you drinking over there?
You know, what's in my cup stays in my cup.
But I think one of the interesting things about having these conversations, I feel like I'm always having conversations, you know, because I call you up and I be like, Jasmine, I done told him I done lined it up and said, this is what I need, this is what I'm looking for, all of that. And then all of a sudden, I'm back on the single block again. So clearly, maybe am I over communicating? Like, what am I doing?
No, I don't
know, but maybe it could be very much so that because we don't typically have these types of conversations that they just like, oh, she's crazy, or oh, she done a little bit too much. So let me back up. Cool. All right. So I don't know if you guys know, but Jasmine and I maybe like a year and a half ago did a millennial dating podcast and interview with a few of our other friends and some of Jasmine's clients and colleagues. So one of the things that came up is the misconceptions of monogamy. So Jasmine, I asked you, what are 2 misconceptions about monogamy that you feel like always comes up? And let's talk specifically, and they're going to be mad at me later, but let's talk specifically in BOG. If you don't know what BOG is, we will talk about it later, but I'll give you guys a tidbit of that.
They might be in the comments. We might have to. No.
They're not in the comments. They're not here. They're not here.
I'm about to tag them. So come in the room.
So what do you think?
So ask me that question again, because I didn't catch the ending of it.
So I said, what do you think some of the common misconceptions of monogamy are? But let's talk about specifically in our group of friends, BOG.
Misconceptions?
Mm-hmm. That they have when they're like looking for relationships, because you know there's been a many a times we've sat on the green couch.
Yeah. I think I don't know that there's necessary, like, to be honest, I don't think that most people really think about it like I said, especially them, I don't think they really think about exactly what that means. Like I said, I think it's kind of like an unspoken thing. Like, okay, now we're in a relationship, so we're exclusive to each other. And I think, and I would say this because most of my friends are guys. I think most guys' definition of monogamy is just, as long as I don't have sex with someone else, I'm cool. And that's why I think it's important to really define what it is, because by definition, I mean, that's kind of true.
Right.
But I also believe that there is a difference between like monogamy in a relationship and then like general boundaries and respect. So I think that that's 2 different conversations. Like being committed to someone and having a certain standard for how your relationship is governed is different from like how monogamy, in a sense. So you could technically not be cheating per se, or, you know, you're following the construct of monogamy, but you're still doing something that's outside of the boundaries or the respect that you should have for your partner. But again, that's why I think it's important to define it, because if we haven't sat down and talked about exactly what that is, then you can't technically hold me to a standard that I didn't agree to. So, true. I mean, on one hand, I get it, and we will all like to believe that as adults, we're clear about what boundaries we should and shouldn't cross. But again, relationships are different for different people. I mean, there are, I've learned over these last couple of years especially, that there are tons of different constructs and structures of relationships. So what to me is not okay or is out of, you know, bounds for me and what I would accept in a relationship is different from someone who subscribes to another relational lifestyle per se. So
Right.
I just think that communication is, and we always hear people say the biggest thing in relationships, communicate.
Facts.
But it's like, nah, that's real, because I think a lot of times we have these like unwritten assumptions about the way things should be. And then I think that that's where we mess up at. Like, so even
Right.
for my male friends, a lot of them are like, even as singles, they believe like, oh, well, I told her I don't want to be in a relationship. I told her that I'm not ready for that. But you sleep over every night. She cooking you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You go to meet the family. Like, you spend 20 out of 24 hours a day with her. Like, sir, come on now. Like, titles aside, let's come on. Like, the assumption that you're spending that much time with each other and you have an emotional connection, physical, whatever. Like, the assumption that a person would
When
just
do you
be
have time
able
to do anything else?
Exactly. So the assumption that a person would be in a scenario like that and not have a certain level of responsibility or expectation for you, it's ridiculous. Like, let's be clear. So I just think, like I said, I don't know if it's a misconception per se, or if it's just like one of those things that is like you don't talk about. So everybody's making assumptions until somebody does something the other person doesn't like, and now we upset and all in an uproar about it. I think that's the bigger issue.
True. So with that, I think it's safe to say, you can agree to disagree, that the tagline that whatever you're not comfortable with or you're not into, that's considered cheating. So yeah, I think that maybe 10, 15 years ago, that might have been cool. Like, well, if you don't want me to do it, then you better not do it either. That would have been cool. But now with the new lifestyles and people, you know, are more open to just trying and experiencing new things, I definitely think that monogamy in itself seems to be a little bit ambiguous in a sense. So with that being said, one of our other good friends, he made a statement to me recently. He said that how come humans are expected to live this monogamous lifestyle, right? And we have all these big constraints and thoughts about it, whereas technically we are animals and nobody is expecting an animal, so to speak, to live this monogamous life. Their sole purpose is to mate and recreate. And so why can't, as humans, we do the same thing? And so my response was, well, first of all, I mean, I'm sure that animals have feelings. They just don't, we just are not able to, you know, necessarily understand them because they are not verbalized in the way in which, in like a common language. So maybe that's why I said more than that. I mean, do you just want to go around and just have sex with everybody and just to be mating? Or do you want to choose specifically a person or individual, whatever, to mate with and create your offspring with? So what do you think about monogamy in that sense? And then I'll tell you who said it.
I don't think we need to be comparing ourselves to animals.
I've
heard that before too. You gotta love men. Why are we comparing ourselves to animals?
Listen,
that's in no other area of my life do I be like, you know, in the jungle, the man and the woman does this, so I probably should rethink the way I'm running my household. Like that. In no other sense
me and you are here, but I had to bring
animals.
it to you.
That's ridiculous.
I had to bring it to you because I was just like, but wait. But these are our friends. These are our friends. So
I know.
What? You're serious. Like this is not even like playing, like you're okay. And I think that in a sense, the Sex with Betty said I always compare myself to animals. But I'm not saying that it's wrong or whatever the case may be. What I'm saying is I always say like, oh, you know, Megalodon, if you know me, like really, really know me, you know I'm a shark. I love sharks. That's my thing. And I always say like, oh, Megalodon's my cousin, but I'm not going to be like, Megalodon will go and eat all of the fish in the sea. And so maybe that means that I need to be eating all of intimacy. Like it to
And
me, it's a
that's my
different type of
point.
connection. Like, huh?
At no point in my life do I look to animals and the way they govern their lives as a benchmark for what I should do in mine.
I also think that the communication, again, because I do definitely think that animals communicate, but I think that the communication style is very much so different.
Totally different. And here's the thing, though. I totally believe that. Do I believe that monogamy is natural to every human being? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Just like nothing else is, though. I don't believe that any behavior that we exude as people is natural to every single human on the planet.
Facts.
So I would say, to caveat that, is that no, I do not believe that monogamy is natural to every human on the planet. And it may not be natural for him. But also, we're not going to have that be a benchmark for everybody else on the planet as well. So, like, that's what we're not going to do. If it's not natural to you, that's okay, and you get to define that for yourself. But again, herein lies the issue. If you know that monogamy is not natural to you, then you find a mate who also believes that monogamy is not natural to them, or at least is willing to accept the fact that it's not natural to you. See, the issue comes in where you try to say, oh, it's not natural to me, and because the animals don't believe that, then you shouldn't believe that it's natural to you. Sir, that's where I have a problem.
Right.
Like I strongly believe that, and actually in reading and doing research about this topic, they talked about a lot of the societal pressures as it relates to monogamy as the reason why most people aren't open and forthcoming. But I've always been the type of person, because I've watched relationships have always been a thing that I really paid a lot of attention to. And so I've watched a lot of people in relationships who dealt with cheating and dealt with infidelity in different ways and their responses to it. And I have always said, and I still believe this to this day, that a lot of times women in those situations, and I'll speak from a woman's perspective because I'm a woman, I think a lot of times women in those situations aren't hurt or baffled by it because the act took place. I think the problem is that you left me without a choice, right?
Right.
So if you're upfront and honest with me and say, look, I don't think monogamy is really my thing as far as it relates to sex, or as far as it relates to dating, whatever your definition of it is. Right. So say we're talking about sex, right? I don't think monogamy is my thing, is the thing for me, or the lifestyle for me as it relates to sex. But I am willing to, and I want to be committed to one partner in life. And, one person that I go to sleep with, one person that I live with, one person whose families we can join together, who I have children with, there are tons of other areas in a relationship that we can relate to. So if you are honest and upfront and saying, look, I can commit to you in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ways, but this one thing, I haven't been successful at it, or I'm not willing to, or it's not my thing. I believe that there are a ton of women out there who would say, you know what, you got a deal. 8 out of 10, I think I can rock with that. I think the issue comes in when you decide that it's not your thing, but you don't communicate to your partner.
I think you bring up a amazing point. Giving people the option. So whether you're a man or a woman or whatever, I think that is the issue a lot of times, because it's like, well, damn, you ain't even tell me or let me decide what I want to do. Which brings me to a story that I need to tell you. So, Jasmine and Rosebud. So you guys know, if you've been here, that I've been talking about this specific guy that I have like this crazy sexual attraction to, and we have our situation. So more recently, our situation has kind of dwindled down and just become non-existent. And so today, actually, before, it always happens like right before the show, and I'd be like, yes, give me the content.
Good content.
Right. So he calls, right? I'm on my way to Walmart. We chilling, me and my aunt, we on our way to Walmart, and my phone rings. So I answer the phone, and I'm like, hello. So he's like, hey, sweetheart, how you doing? What's going on? So I'm like, what's up? So he's like, oh, I'm just calling to check on you. So he's like, am I on speakerphone? So I'm like, yeah, you're on speakerphone. I'm in the car. Like, so he's like, okay, well, tell whoever's in the car, like, hello. Because before we had an issue with him saying something crazy on the phone, and my grandmother was in the car, and he was like, oh my God, I didn't know. But anyway, So she was like, oh, that was nice. After he hung up, she was like, that was nice that he called. And I was like, nah, that's because I kind of handed him his ass yesterday. So she was like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you know, if I'm having sex with you, well, and at the time, me and him were intimate. So it's like, if I'm having sex with you, I need you to communicate. It ain't got to be like we got to text all day and all of that. But if we're active together, I need you to let me know, like, what's up. So for like 3 weeks, I ain't hear nothing. So I'm like, okay, and I'm pretty busy. So you know how you just be like, oh, wait.
Out of sight, out of mind, yeah.
I ain't talked to such and such in a minute. So I'm like, all right, cool. So when I called him yesterday, I was like, what's up with you? What's going on? So he was like, nothing. I was like, well, you just disappeared. Like, you good? Everything okay? Like, if we beefing, let me know. Because I didn't even know that we was beefing. Because usually I'm the one that starts the beef. But I got to be clear if we beefing. Right. So he was like, no, we're not beefing. I went on vacation. So I was like, oh, okay. So he was like, yeah, I told you. I was like, no, you didn't. He's like, yes, I did. I'm like, no, you didn't. Wrong bitch. So he was like, what you mean wrong bitch? And I'm like, I'm just saying, like, wrong bitch. Like, it's not an issue, but I need you to understand that now that you've kind of let yourself dwindle off into the side, don't expect me to stop what I'm doing.
Right.
Because now you want to be present. And so the thing that he was like, you know what, you interested with this whole being okay with us being like somewhat monogamous. And I was like, listen, at the end of the day, you already made it very clear to me that monogamy is not your thing, right? You already told me that you are not capable of being in a relationship with one individual. You feel like you need multiple women to fulfill you. In whatever sense that may be, whether that is physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever. Okay, cool. In the space that I was in when we met, I was content with that. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. As long as you give me what I need. And at that time, it was all about the physical. And yes, rosebuds, I was very much so dick whipped, and I can say that. I'm going to just name it. I'm going to call a spade. But now that I have, and you know, things change. And for me, I'm one of those people that I evolve really quickly. So after a while, I was just like, all right, I'm over it. Like, and then when I decided that, I'm going to be celibate, it was like a light bulb went off. And I was just like, okay, well, you're not, there's nothing that you can do for me anymore. Like, we can be cool, we can be cordial, but you expected me to spaz out or to be feeling some type of way because you know what you're doing. No, I'm not. Why? Because you've already expressed to me, and we already kind of have an agreement that you being monogamous is what you're doing.
Right.
Or not being monogamous.
Or not. Right.
Like, that's what you want to do. So I can't be mad or upset. And what I say to that is, you gave me the option. You let me know up front. And so that's what it is. But now you can't be mad if you have also changed and you haven't communicated, because I'm still rocking up with what you told me from the beginning.
Exactly.
So I'm just like, you better be. I didn't know. So I think that the communication has to happen, whether you for it or against it. You like, ooh, I want to try this. I'm not. And even if it's one of those things where, because I've seen people who've been in a relationship for a hell of a long time, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, I think I want to look over the side of my shoulder because shorty got a big booty.
Right.
But then I'm the type of woman where I might look over the shoulder and be like, damn, babe, she really do got a big ass. Like,
right.
But that's just who I am. But I feel like a lot of times society has made that a horrible thing. Like, oh no, it's disrespectful because he or she looked at another person. Like, what? We're human. So what do you think about that when you are out with your mate and y'all both see attractive individuals and y'all respond innately? Because I don't even think we think about like, I'm about to respond to this guy or this girl next to us.
I think, well, it's two things. So first of all, I have always been this type of person, is that I think we have a big misconception about what a union really is. And I believe that we treat relationships or commitment like ownership, and that's two different things. Like when we're in a committed relationship, or we're married, or whatever the structure of our relationship is, that's us both choosing to do life together. That is not like I signed over my life to you, you signed over your life to me. That is not what that is. At least not for me. I don't believe so. So I think the problem comes in is that when we have both sat down and we decided that we're going to do life together, that doesn't mean that I'm now deaf, dumb, and blind. Like,
Right.
I was attracted to
Facts.
men before you, and I'm still going to be attracted to men after I decide that you are my person, and vice versa. Like, I'm not going to expect you as a woman to all of a sudden become deaf, dumb, and blind and not see another woman who's attractive and acknowledge that. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think that's ridiculous. But I think it comes from the idea that when we decide that we're in a union, that we now have ownership over each other. Like, I own you, you own me. So I'm the only person you should be looking at, and you're the only person I should be looking at. Or I'm the only person you should want to eat ice cream with, and you're the only person I should want to eat ice cream with. Like, I just feel like that's ridiculous. And that's not sustainable because as humans, we evolve. So we evolve as people, and we choose to like different things, or we grow out of certain things. So relationships evolve as well. So I don't believe that is sustainable long term. And I think that's part of the problem of why a lot of people don't like to subscribe to monogamy, because again, by definition is one thing, and then in practice is a whole different thing. So for a lot of people, stuff like that is a deal breaker, or that's breaking the commitment of monogamy because you said that a girl was fine that walked past you at the dinner table. Like, I mean, that's ridiculous, but in some people's mind, that is a part of breaking the contract of monogamy. And that's why it's important to really sit down and define what it is for you, because to me, that sounds ridiculous, but to another person, that may sound perfectly normal. Like,
Okay. All right. So let's take it back to the video that you sent me. First of all, thank you. Because I was like, yo, like, I always thought he was cute, but like, to see him,
did you watch the whole
both. I watched both.
Okay.
And I even saw his read where he was like, oh, how many of y'all made a decision or a judgment before you watched both videos? So I thought that was important. But one of the things that stuck out to me that he said was, when a man decides to be with a woman in a monogamous relationship, and I'm talking about just in a sex perspective, that a lot of times their sexual drive is on 1,000. And so it's like, oh, we get together and it's like, okay, we always want to have sex. We always want to have sex. And the woman is like, oh, wait, hold up. I can't give you that. And so it's like, wow. And they're married. So he was talking about in the sense of being, you know, in a space where we have to compromise because, okay, you promised that you was going to give me sex tonight, but in reality, like, she's exhausted, or vice versa, because it might be the other way. But I'm just speaking off what he said. So I thought that nuance that women, because I feel like I've done it too, we don't think about like, oh, if I get into this relationship and I ask for this monogamy, then that means that, oh, when they want sex, if I don't want them to go seek it from someone else, I kind of gotta, you know, and it doesn't even have to be sex. It could be, you know, if they want quality time, if they want, you know, to have a conversation. It might be that I really don't want to have this conversation, but we got to come to that even playing, because if I'm not having a conversation with you and we are together and you're my one and only, so to speak, then who else do you expect me to talk to? Because you damn sure don't want me to go and talk to my girlfriend, and I don't want you to go talking to your homeboys. So at some point in time, we got to come talk to each other. But I find that it becomes sticky. It get a little like, because we don't even acknowledge that. So when he said that, I was like, oh man, that's deep. I was like, you. Because usually, you know me, I got a rebuttal. I'm like, but wait. But I was like, oh, I didn't think of it like that.
So for me, you know how I am. What I was most interested in. So I listened to him, and I always like to play devil's advocate. So I listened to him. I formulated my thoughts. And then I read the comments, and I was like, ooh, this is a real issue. Because I am one of those people that everything for me is logic. It's always logic first, emotion second.
Mm-hmm.
So listening to it with my logical ear, I'm like, that shit makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you as a woman requested in this, y'all, you wanted to be married, and not to say that they both didn't, but let's just say, like he said, in most instances, we are, as women, and I know that because I'm a woman, we are normally the ones who request monogamy. So if you are requesting monogamy and I am agreeing to your contract of monogamy, all right, we only gonna have sex with each other. That means that when I want to do it, and we're not saying it like, okay, every time I say open your legs and spread them, you gotta open your legs and spread them. But if we have made the commitment that we're only going to have sex with each other, you have needs and I have needs, that means that we got to meet each other's needs because we are the only choice we have. So I do understand. Absolutely. Like I said, I always like to play devil's advocate, putting myself in a man's shoes. I do understand that if in this relationship at some point we decided that we're going to be committed to each other and we're going to be monogamous and I'm only sleeping with you, you're only sleeping with me, that if I was a man and every time I want to have sex with my woman, it's always like, oh, I'm tired. Oh, I don't want to do it. Oh, I'm not in the mood. Oh, I got this. Oh, the kids. Oh, the job. Oh, the this. Oh, the that. That would piss me the hell off. Like, I gotta be completely honest. I would be like,
right.
So, like I said, my logical brain completely understood where he was coming from, and I'm like, damn, that makes a whole hell of a lot of sense. Especially, like he said, if you watch the backstory, is that they've been in a relationship for a long time. They started out dating in college. They was doing it all the time. So it's like you kind of set that precedent in your relationship, and then as the years go on, stuff starts to dwindle down. And that, I mean, I think that's natural, but it's just like the concept of it, like when you think of it, just like theoretically, like that makes a whole hell of a lot of sense.
But I think to that point though, because he said that in the beginning they definitely were doing it all the time. He's like, we was having sex all the time, but he also made it known that we had time to miss each other. And I think that when you are with somebody and y'all are married and y'all are living in the same house, you have to create those boundaries where it's like, okay, you go do you and I'm gonna do me, and then when we together we can do each other and we can have a grand old time. But if you don't create that space where I can miss you, then it's like, why you in my face again? Like, can I just breathe? And I think that as individuals, especially because that's what we are, when we come into this world, I mean, unless you come in with a twin, but even still, as a twin, you're still an individual in yourself. So you always need that space. And you need that time to be like, to reflect on whatever it is that you need to do for yourself. And what you don't want to do is, because y'all are always together, is that now y'all codependent. Because that is where the insecurities come in, the lack of motivation, whether it's intrinsic or extrinsic, because it's like, oh, I don't have to do because my mate's always going to do, or I don't have to do because I just don't feel like it, or I just don't want to. And when that happens, it's kind of like, ooh, how do you progress? And so, me, and we talk about this all the time. I talk about how I want my mate to be able to challenge me. And I don't just mean in a way that it's like you give me stimulated conversation. That's one aspect. But what about, teach me something that I don't know. Talk to me about, your job or your experiences that I may have never got to experience. Those are the things that push me to be like, oh, like, let me understand your perspective. But when we don't allow that to happen, and that means that you will have to go and do some experience. You're going to have to do some things on your own without me, and then I'm going to have to go and do some things on my own without you, and then we come back and we can share together. But when that doesn't happen, then it's just like, okay, well, you saw the same thing I saw, so what are we talking about, right? Somebody I was talking to recently, they're in a relationship, and they were like, well, I just want my girl by my side all the time. And so I said, okay, well, what about when you want to go hang out with your friends? And he was like, well, that's different. And I said, okay, well, explain to me how. Because if you're saying that you want your girl by your side all the time, then that means she going with you to boys' night. Like, elaborate, what do you mean by that? So he was like, no, like when I go hang out with my friends, it's one thing, but other than that, like I just want her by my side. And I was like, right, but what does she want? So he was like, I mean, I don't know. Well, did you ask her? Like my initial, did you ask her? I mean, well, she just, she just tagged along. I'm like, right, but do you observe what she looks like when she's sitting in that crowd with you and your homeboys and y'all talking about sports or whatever y'all talking about? Does she look uncomfortable? Well, sometimes, but then she just hopped right in. Right, because she had to adjust herself so that she can not feel uncomfortable.
Right.
But why can't she have her own identity? Why can't she go and do what she wants? Oh, well, because she don't have no friends. Well, what happened to her friends? Oh, when we got together, because we was always together, she don't got no friends no more. Oh, I wonder why. I wonder why. All right. So that being said, let's hop into some of these questions. Are you ready for the questions?
I am. Let's do it.
All right. So here's the first question. It is from the Sterile Slut. So it says, how do you think monogamous relationships will change as polyamory grows? So my first caveat to this is simple. It is not a trend. Please understand, I cannot stand when people are like, oh, I'm gonna just hop on. No, we're not about to ride that wave. Shout out to my Baltimore people. We're not doing none of that. It's not a trend. Polyamory is not a trend. It's a full lifestyle. And if you don't understand that, then you need not go into it. It's okay for you to say that I want to experiment. I want to see if I could possibly change and alter and live in that lifestyle. But don't just do it because, oh, it's the coolest thing out right now, because that's not what it is. And it's very demeaning and disrespectful to those who do live that lifestyle. So that's my caveat. I think that it will push people to be more open about their needs and expectations. And that's my short answer. And I'll say that. What do you think, Jazz?
So I agree with you. It's not a trend. It is a lifestyle. I believe that people need to, first of all, let me just be clear. I think most people aren't emotionally intelligent enough to be polygamous or polyamorous. I think it's just, most people who say that don't really understand what the lifestyle is about. So that's a whole, like, do your research. But I don't think that it's a thing about it growing. Like I said, I believe that societal pressure has made people who practice alternative lifestyles have to kind of somewhat
Do it
hide
in
in the
secrecy.
closet, the same way that we're seeing more people in the LGBT community be more forthcoming and free about who they are. They didn't just start living this lifestyle yesterday. They're just now,
Right.
because of, the way society is changing, they just feel comfortable discussing it and living it out loud. So I don't know that it's necessarily growing, or if people are just now feeling more comfortable about discussing it. But I also just think that like I said, I'm not a person who believes in black and white. So I don't believe that everybody is just naturally monogamous, and I don't believe that monogamy is for everyone. I do believe that some people should explore other lifestyles because they're not great at monogamy. So maybe you do need to do some research and figure out where you fit on the other spectrums, because monogamy is not your thing. But I don't know. I don't necessarily, I guess, to answer your question, I don't know if relationships in themselves will change or monogamy will look different per se. I just think people, as we all, evolve and start to explore different things, we get to decide that there are other choices. For some people, they don't know that there are other choices outside of monogamy. And so as you begin to explore and you're more educated, and we all have the internet, we get to find, kind of where we fit in, what box we want to check. And I think that's just the difference. And I believe if people are really intentional, because it's all about intentionality, I think if people are really intentional about exploring everything and at least being educated on it, then relationships will be healthier, because a lot of people are forcing themselves into monogamous relationships and unhealthy relationships, trying to fit in that mold when that's not really their thing. And that's unhealthy and toxic. So if maybe you do need to read up on some other ones and see if maybe you need to kind of fit into another box. And again, it's all about communicating that to the person on the other side so they too have a choice. That's my 2 cents on that.
All right. So go ahead and read that next question.
how come this generation doesn't take monogamy seriously? See, that's again back to what we were saying. I don't know, and I hear that a whole lot. Like, this generation doesn't honor marriage. This generation don't feel the same about. Let me tell y'all something. Y'all great grandfathers and great grandfathers had side families, like not just the side chicks, but a side family that lived around the corner, and everybody in the neighborhood knew that that was his other family. Like, so let's not act like that we as a generation just up and decided that we wasn't going to be committed to each other anymore. That's not the case. I think as we've evolved and as women have been, become more independent and not needing to stay in a relationship for their financial stability and the stability of their lifestyle and their children, we now have a choice. So we no longer have to stick around for 60 years with grandpa and his 2, 4, 5, 6 other side chicks, because we now have a choice to be able to walk away and sustain ourselves, our children, our lifestyle, whatever. So I think that's the only thing that's changed. I don't think it's that we are now not taking monogamy seriously. I just think that now we are in a position as women to have it, and men too, we are both in a better position to have a choice. And the greatest thing that you can give any human being, I believe, is a choice. So since we have a choice, we no longer have to stay in situations that are toxic. We get to decide to walk away. Whereas before, for a lot of us as women, we did not have that choice. And I think that's the only difference.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. I think also too, and I resonate with this a lot. This whole us evolving is a double-edged sword. Like, while it's beautiful and it's amazing that, women are vocal and we are, like, what, I'm independent and all of that. At the same time, I feel like because now we have all of this, and it's like, oh yeah, like I'm the shit and I don't need you, so to speak.
Yeah.
It minimizes the idea that, like, no, just because I'm independent doesn't mean that I don't need you.
Yeah.
Or I don't need you, rather. It's like, because again, another thing that someone said to me today was like, we men can't live on this earth without women. It's just not possible. Like, they need us to reproduce and do all of those things or whatever. But just as much as they need us, we need them.
We need
and
them,
so
yeah.
I think that while we are like, I don't think that it's about not taking it seriously. I just think that, one, a lot of us are scared because you have to think about generationally, how many of us have seen broken marriages? How many of us have seen, abuse in these relationships?
I wasn't
How many
even
of us
gonna
have
go there,
seen,
but
how many of, but for real though, like, how many of us have seen these situations where it's like we're settling and we know we're settling, but guess what? Because society said we have to. Look at BOG coming in. Look at him. Hey, BOG. But because society says we have to, now it's like, oh, I don't want to. And then forget about society for a second. Let's talk about media. Look, we look at this. I love Tyler Perry to death, but we look at Tyler Perry movies and it's like, for men, it's like, oh man, it's a chick flick. Oh man, here he go bashing men. Oh man, all of this stuff is happening. But in reality, like, these are the things that's
a reflection of
we
our
have
reality.
seen. It's what we've seen, and it's unfortunately, that's just what it is. And so that is, I think that is what the issue is. It's not about us not taking it seriously. It's just about us being afraid and not knowing how to actively communicate and effectively communicate. Like, hey, I'm not opposed to it, but I need to understand what your non-negotiables are, and I also need you to understand thoroughly what my non-negotiables are.
And I think too, it's about giving each other grace, because like you said, and I wasn't even going to go there, but that's absolutely true. Like, even for me, like, as much as I love relationships and I have these thought-provoking conversations and I ask questions and all that, like, I don't know, I have never seen up close what a successful marriage looks like. So I can't say that I'm equipped to go into that situation 100% knowing what my expectations are or what I should expect from my partner. Like, that's something that we're going to have to figure out together. And I know a lot of us are like that. So it's just like, for a lot of people, it's not that they're giving up or they're not taking it seriously, but they just really don't know. And I think that's why it's
Right.
important for us, if that's something that we desire, to be intentional about building it. And like I said, giving each other grace as we figure it out, because most of us have not seen what that looks like up close. To be able to have something to pinpoint, to know what's right or wrong. Like,
Right.
a lot of us are dealing with relational trauma. Like, we've grown up in a single parent household. We've seen our parents in unhealthy relationships and marriages. Like, not a lot of us have seen healthy marriages and relationships. So we're just trying to figure it out. So I think that's the thing too. Sometimes figuring it out means that you have to walk away. Not necessarily that you're not taking it seriously, but your idea of what this looks like and what you're seeing is different. And maybe we do sometimes give up too often. But again, that's because we don't know. Like,
Exactly.
I mean, we're doing what we feel like is the best thing for us in the moment.
All right. So this one says monogamy versus polygamy. Which do you prefer? So, Jasmine O. Dyson, what is your preference?
I'm gonna just be completely 100 with y'all. Polygamy, I cannot do, for multiple reasons. First of all, my energy cannot contain more than one person in my personal space that often. Like, we talked about that earlier.
This is very true.
For me, I am a give each other space in a relationship type of girl. Like, me, I am Elizabeth Taylor. Like, you take your room on the other side of the house. Me, I'm gonna take mine on this side, and we're gonna meet in the middle. Like,
Right.
I cannot deal with multiple personalities, multiple people, multiple emotions. Like, no, ma'am, no, sir, I cannot do it. So for me, monogamy makes the most sense. Now, what that looks like internally, I don't know. But to invite another person into my relationship, like, I can't. No.
Okay, fair.
I'm not equipped. I'm not built for it.
Okay, that's fair. Listen, I understand. Monogamy versus polygamy. I'm gonna be honest, because Sunday Snitchin, and that's what we do. I think that at a really young age, I fell in love with the idea of monogamy. And there's been a lot of times where I have been in a situation, and I won't even say relationships, because I only claim one for real. But I think the other situations that I've been a part of where I've fallen for the idea of somebody, and it was the idea of their potential of what they could be, and not even who they were standing right in front of me. And I say that because that is kind of what I feel about monogamy. Like, I do think that one day I will have the opportunity to marry, my soulmate, whoever that may be. However, as I've grown in my personal life, but more so in the aspect of becoming Mystique and really focusing on what is the mission behind her, I've found that I often am like, could she and could I be a polygamist? I've never tried it. I think that, again, it's about me finding those individuals who can help me understand and really talk to me and communicate with me about the lifestyle. Because, again, I'm not going to it as a trend. And I've been very much so adamant about that, and also very much so cautious, because some people just like, oh, we just try to have a whole orgy over here. And I'm like,
that's how you ruin your life. Like, well,
like, that's not what I'm looking for.
Polygamy, polyamory, and swinging is 3 different things.
Facts.
Polygamy is rooted in nation building. That's me, you, your sister wives, however many of us, all in cohabitating together, building together, all raising our children together. We're all putting our finances together. Like, that's nation building. That, for me, is can't do it. That's too much.
I just feel like, I think that the concept of polygamy is a beautiful thing, and I think that when we talk about race as a whole, I feel like us as African Americans, if we could master the sense of union building outside of sex, it would be great, because I feel like Asians have done it tremendously. They got it down pat, right? With their multiple businesses. And when we talk about from a business standpoint, I think that building the union and polyamory in that sense is amazing. I'm not sure how I would feel in a state of emotional or a sexual relationship. I'm not there yet. But again, it's all about research. So if I had a group of people who I truly know care for me and they're not, just out here fending for themselves, then that could be a conversation and an experience that I would invite, so to speak. So I'll say that. So that is our last.
Knowing you, I think polyamory would be something that you could do, because that's just having multiple intimate relationships. And intimacy doesn't mean sex. That just means that you are open to the idea of having intimate relationships with multiple partners and your partner doing the same. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we all got to be going on triple dates and living in the same house. And that's
I'm not doing that.
So I think polyamory may work for you, but I don't, because I'm not about to come to your house and diffuse no situations if you try to live with 3 other women. Like, no, sis.
First of all, listen, this is so okay. If you've been watching, you guys know that Jasmine is the other side of the 2 peas in the pod that be with all of the guys. So it's me and Jasmine. It don't be no other women, just us. So
hey, Jay.
This is who I'm talking about when I'm with my group of male friends. She's who I'm talking about. I'm the yin, she's the yang. This is her. So with that being said, Jasmine, I want you to sum up your thoughts on our conversation about monogamy as we start to wrap it out. Hey, what are your thoughts in general? What are some things that you want our viewers to take home? Or they already home, but take with them.
I guess my biggest note about the entire conversation is the importance of, first of all, I think in any relationship, the most important thing and the first thing that you need to do is really sit down and self-reflect. I think so often we don't really know who we are at our core, or if we do know, we're comfortable enough with it to communicate it. So when you get into a relationship and we talk about having these tough conversations and setting expectations and talking about what you want and desire, a lot of times we can't do that because we aren't comfortable enough with who we are to express it. So I think the first thing you need to do is really sit down and self-reflect, figure out who you are, what is it that you desire, whether society says it's okay or not, and really get to a place you are completely comfortable living the lifestyle that you desire. And the thing about it is that, like I said before, nothing in this world is black and white. You get to decide today that you like the color orange, and then in 2 weeks you get to say, you know what, I hate orange and I like red. And that is okay. Right. The thing about it is, I think so many of the issues that we have within relationships, within careers, whatever it is in our life, is just the lack of confidence in who we are and what we desire. I think that's the most important thing. Like, figure out who you are, figure out what it is that you desire, and then get yourself comfortable expressing what that thing is, especially if it's something outside of what society would consider the norm, which really, one of the things that I always tell my clients that I work with, there is nothing new under the sun. Right. So you might think that, oh my God, because you don't know any personal family members or friends or whoever who subscribe to polygamy or polyamory or swinging or whatever the case is, you may think that, oh my God, I sound so ridiculous, I can't possibly do that. So you force yourself into situations where you're trying to bend and adjust to something that's just not natural to you. Right. So if it's something that you want to try, you think it up. You need to be confident enough in expressing that, and you explore and educate yourself on it before you move. And I think that's the most important thing, because so many times we get into relationships and then we think that we're just going to figure it out once we get there. It's like, nah, you done already made the commitment now. So now, in addition to you growing and evolving as an individual, you also have to consider another person. So the best thing to do is to explore who you are before you decide to do life with somebody else. Because that way you can come to the table clear about what your expectations are, and then you guys get to grow and evolve your union together. But like, I don't need to be your soul, the moon and stars, and you don't need to be mine either. Like, we need to both come to the table whole and clear and independent individuals who just deciding that we're going to do life together, and then we get to set our expectations and move forward. But you got to be clear about what your expectations are so that you can communicate that to the other person. And again, give them a choice, because that is the most important thing, is giving people a choice. And you got to be, that's why I said you have to really be okay and confident in what your decision is because if that person decides that that's not for them, then you have to be okay with walking away, or you have to be okay with them walking away. And a lot of times, because we're not sure, when we get into those situations and we communicate what we want or desire, and then the person doesn't agree, we're like, oh my God, no, they're leaving. So now we backtrack. And it's like,
Right.
nah, you got to
No,
be
don't
okay
do that. Right.
with this is what I desire. These are my expectations. And so if you can't meet me in the middle anywhere, then I am open, and that's fine. It's okay for somebody to walk away from you. It's okay for you to walk away from them. Like,
right.
so that would be my 2 cents. Like, figure out who you are, figure out what your non-negotiables are, the things that you want and desire in a relationship. And I'm not just talking about the corny ass list that we create. He got to make this, have this job, have a degree, look like this, no kids.
Why
I'm
you telling my
like,
business, Jazz?
I'm like, who you want that person to be at their core, and then who you want them to be to you in that union.
Right.
And be okay with that, and be, even if you got to practice communicating that, so that when you come together, you can be clear about your expectations.
Awesome. Thank you. My thoughts. So I echo everything that Jasmine says, but I also want you to understand that you, again, have to know that you can put forth the same effort that you are expecting from someone. So when it comes to monogamy and relationships, whether you're talking about friendship, whether you're talking about in a marriage sense, whether you're talking about in a sexual sense, if y'all can't be each other's yoke and be a balance for one another, whether you are with one person, you are with multiple people, you have an issue. Because at some point in time, that scale is not going to be balanced. And if it's not balanced, then you know what happens, it's going to tip. And then that means either you're going to get the short end of the stick or they're going to get the short end of the stick. And at the end of the day, nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be on the receiving end of not being benefited. So I would definitely say making sure that the people that you involve yourself with, or the individuals rather, that you take what they need and what they want into consideration and figure out if y'all can mesh, and if y'all can't, like Jazz said, exit stage left, right? And it's cool. And it's like, you know what, you can be great over there and I'm gonna be great over here, and I'm not hating on you and I'm not throwing shots, and that's just what it's gonna be. Yeah. And I'm gonna support you and I'm gonna love you from afar. Because we can do that. We can love people from afar.
Or just change the dynamics of your friendship, of your relationship, right? We're not meant to be together, but we can be great friends. Like, that's okay too.
I also think that monogamy, again, it's this thing where it's okay to not know and to not understand, and it's okay to fear because you don't know. But a closed mouth don't get fed. So if you need to know, or if you are interested in knowing, how to push yourself in a relationship that is beneficial to both parties, then you need to be able to be willing to do the work. Because if you don't do the work, then why are we here?
Yeah,
What's the purpose, right?
Conversation.
So if you're not going to do the work with yourself, because again, as Jazz said, you have to do your work for yourself first. So if you're not going to do that, then don't even waste another person's time, because not only did you waste their time, you also wasted your own time because you were not clear of what your intentions were. And if we're talking about intentionality, it's important to know, why are you doing this? What actions are you putting forth? What's the purpose? Because at the end of the day, your time is just as valuable as the next person's. Yeah. So those are my caveats. And those are my thoughts for the night. Jasmine, my love, this is really my best friend. So she already know what it is. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. If you guys don't know, make sure you follow her. Follow the BS Experience. Follow Boss Up Girl Co. Follow Jay Dyson, the brand. Am I missing any? I feel like it's like 100 of them. We got a lot.
My collection is launching in about a week or so.
Hey, it's lit. It's lit. Yes. Thank you, Jasmine, for joining us for the one and only The Nuances of Monogamy. I appreciate you. We might need to have a part 2.
Let's do it.
Let's get some guys and some thoughts on there. Hey, Jarvis. But yes.
Hey, Jarvis.
Thank you for joining, and I will talk to you probably in like 10 minutes. Not even gonna lie.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Love you much.
All right,
baby. All right, Rosebud. So if you are joining us, or even if you missed it, make sure you go and follow Mystique on all social media platforms. So we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. We also just launched our YouTube channel. So follow Mystique Sin Sex Sin, which is all about sensuality, sexuality, and sentiment for your journey of just loving yourself and being unapologetic about who you are. And special thanks to Jasmine O. Dyson for coming on, my baby girl. I love you so much. And tune in next Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for How Crowded Is Your Bed with these sterile sluts. We're going to get all into all those people that's in between y'all sheets. So I will see you guys next week, and I love you guys. Good night, Rosebuds. Mwah.